Now that we have so many different organisms, we think we know how they started, we know how they changed over time, we think we know how we created species. Let's classify them or separate them into different categories. We first start off with the 7 level classification system. Now, this 7 level classification system does not include the higher level, which is a domain. At the domain, you have kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. You will never have to know what phylum means or class or order or any of that. You do have to know the order of the 7 level classification system. You do have to know that kingdom is the largest group of organisms, whereas species is the smallest group of organisms. In fact, these organisms are so closely related that they can actually reproduce with each other. One way to help me remember the order is to come up with a mnemonic device. My mnemonic device is that King Philip came over for great spaghetti. That helps me remember the order of going from the largest group to the smallest group. Now let's talk about the kingdoms. Because I did say you would have to know kingdoms. You will have to know about genus and species. Sometimes you'll see 5 kingdoms, and sometimes this Monera kingdom is broken down. Monera is just bacteria, and there are 2 types of bacteria, archaeobacteria and regular bacteria. Now, in order to know the characteristics, I need to think about what I actually do know. I know for sure that bacteria are the only organisms that are prokaryotes, which means the rest of the kingdoms are eukaryotes. Also know that am an example of an animal. I know like a rose or flower is an example of plant, and mushrooms are example of fungi. I can use that to help me fill in the rest of the characteristics. So animals, I know that we are multicellular, plants are multicellular, and fungi are multicellular. And I remember from early Earth, with our notes on how we evolved, that bacteria are unicellular. I'm going to leave Protista blank for now. I'm going to come back to it. When it comes to special cellular structures, I know that animals are the only kingdom with no cell walls. We have bones, so we don't need a cell wall to stand up. But we have no cell wall. Plants have cell walls, fungi have cell walls, and bacteria have cell walls. Animals are the only one with no cell wall. Autotroph and heterotroph. Well, I know me, I have to go get my own food, so I'm a heterotroph, and plants are autotrophs because they can make their own food. Fungi, I know mushrooms eat off of dead or decomposing materials, so they're heterotrophs. And I know that bacteria are heterotrophs as well. Now let's fill in Protista. Protista are organisms that are a mixture of 2 other kingdoms. So maybe they are a plant but behave like a fungi, or maybe they're bacteria but behave like an animal. So for the most part, they'll be both all across the board. However, I know animals are the only ones with no cell wall. Every other kingdom has a cell wall. And again, it'll be both across the board. So protists are your other category. They are a mixture of 2 kingdoms. Let's talk about binomial nomenclature. So we have to be able to name our species, but we have to use a scientific name so that in America and in Egypt, we both have the same understanding of this animal. Because a lion in America may not be considered a lion or may not be called a lion on the other side of the world. So, in order to scientifically name species, we use a binomial nomenclature. Binomial, bi means two, nomial means name. So, we're going to use 2 names. The first name we're going to use is the genus and then the species. So, for humans, we may have heard that humans are called Homo sapiens using the genus, and then the species. And this is the scientific name given. The scientific name is usually written in Italian language, so I will never ask you to pronounce these words. The rules are that the genus name comes first and then the species. Kind of like a sentence, you're going to capitalize the genus, and sometimes you see it written in italics. So, for example, this frog may not be called a frog in another country, but we can use a scientific name. Now, remember, the genus name comes first, and then the species name comes second. Kind of like a sentence, the first letter is capitalized. Let's talk about a phylogenetic tree. A phylogenetic tree is kind of like a family tree where grandma's at the bottom, grandkids are at the top. Closer you are on the tree, the closer you are related. So about 12 million years ago, one of the species evolved on its own. About 6 to 8 million years ago, another species evolved, and so on and so forth. The organisms that are closer together on the tree are the ones who are most related. We're looking at a cladogram. A cladogram is has organisms that are separated by characteristics. For example, the difference between a shark and the rest of these organisms is that a shark or the rest of the organisms have bony skeletons and a shark does not. The difference between the raven fish and a shark is that compared to other organisms is that the other organisms have 4 limbs, so on and so forth. So we separate the organisms by characteristics. Now we have a dichotomous key. A dichotomous key, because di means two. It's a set of two statements that's going to help you identify an organism. I go into the jungle, I see this organism, I don't know what this organism is. I can use a dichotomous key to help me identify what it is. Start with step one. Either A, it has a solid coat, or B, it does not have a solid coat. In this case, it does not have a solid coat, so I can go to number 3. Once I get to number 3, A is striped or B is spotted. In this case, it is spotted, so it gives me the scientific name. Again, I will not ask you to pronounce it. Just remember that genus comes first and species comes second, and like a sentence, the first letter is capitalized. Your turn. Let's figure out the scientific name of organism number 2. You can pause the screen. Alright, well that's the end of Unit 7, Evolution and Classification. Remember that Units 1 through 7 will be on your test on tomorrow, and biggest part of the test will actually be the review. So all units before Unit 7. So 1 through 6 will be the biggest part of your test. Alright, have a good day.